Richard, Bob, Julianne, Seema, and Anu are all confirmed. We've got Julie, Jackie, Mary Jo, and Mary, who are also going to share, and that is it. So I don't need to mix these up. The only thing I need to do
Shit,
is...
I want to share.
All right, Catherine's here, done, that's it. Catherine, if you win, there's going to be a mutiny. You or Mary, you're in, that's it.
Did I say that on speaker? I'm sorry.
You did.
You've been on speaker for 20 minutes. I hope that's not, no, I'm just playing. All right, cool, we're done. So I'm gonna wait a moment before I take all of these and I'm gonna mix them up. And yes, whoever has to go first probably has a slight disadvantage. But in our 4-hour meeting earlier today, the judges and I went over what we believe is an effective, solid story and storyteller. And they are aware and will take into account as best they can the fact that you are going first. Outside of that, I'm not sure there's much that we can do. So a few little logistical things. Everyone's gonna be muted. Feel free to unmute yourself if you wanna like do a clap thing after, but the default is gonna be mute. I'm gonna give you that power. Just obviously if there's a lot of noise, it's probably best just to stay muted. For those of you, including Julie, who do this regularly or others who do this, I am glad to take thoughts or ideas tonight or another time on how to best do that because I'm still figuring it out. But a few other notes. Massive thank you for all of you being here. I appreciate it. I know we're dealing with a lot of stuff. What else? So in between storytellers, I will prompt you several times if you, those of you who aren't sharing a story, but even if you are and you want to add more in the chat, I would love, and I hope everyone would be curious about a secret that you might have. You won't have the opportunity to share a 5-minute secret, but you could put something in the chat that's juicy and interesting and will get us curious, and you never know. So I'll remind you a few times throughout the evening. And I also encourage you to use the chat to respond either privately or if you're comfortable publicly in the chat to everyone, respond to the storytellers. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes time to craft. Some of them, I don't know how all these stories are gonna be other than good, but people are being vulnerable. And I know for me, it's nice to get a little, hey, good job, or whatever you might wanna say. So I'll encourage you to do that as well. For our storytellers, once I mix up the names, we'll have an order. We won't know it, we'll just know the first person. I'll say your name. I'll start the clock when you start speaking, other than, can you hear me? You got it? That stuff I won't count, but when your story's clearly started, I'll start. 5 minutes, you get this sound one more time. Ready? I'll probably make the same face when I make the sound because I love that sound. It's an awesome sound. Here's what we're gonna do. Executive decision. At 5:30, you will continue your story. You can't win. We only have one winner this evening. I don't like the idea of muting you at 5:30. That feels weird and slightly aggressive. I feel like not winning is way more aggressive, but it's more of a passive aggressive, which is more my lane. And I exist more in that space. What's that?
Can you ring it twice when it's been that amount of time?
So you want at 5 minutes a ring?
Right, and then like at 5:30, it's like, hey, by the way, you're done. You can keep talking. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I feel like, well, that's aggressive. I want you to just, look, here's the thing, Julianne.
It's less aggressive than muting, but of course you're the host.
No, I don't want to mute anybody. Only if you're like at 8 minutes. That's right. Like unfair to people. But I feel like, look, we kind of have an idea of what 30 seconds is. I know when you're in the middle of a story, it's tricky to gauge time. You're like, holy shit, what the fuck? But you've done this for, come on, you know. But at 5:30, if I do this, then you're like, oh, she's disqualified, I'm disqualified, blah, blah, blah. Sharon, do you have a thought?
Well, I do have a thought that you could put a little clock if you want on your computer or have your phone nearby when you start speaking. And you don't have to look at the time, but if you hear the
Yeah.
beep, you'll have a better concept of when it's 30
Mhm.
seconds.
Mhm.
If you have
Yeah,
somewhere to
that's a good idea. So if you're
That's what I
sharing a
would do.
story tonight, then, and you probably already did this, if you have a phone, grab it, set it, whatever you need to do to remind yourself. I think that's fair. And a couple of other notes, and then we're going to get started. We're going to just rock right into this thing. Is we are trying to honor no notes.
Yes.
I was on right? I know Julie's a massive, Julie, before you leave tonight, you'll put a link into your show. She has a great show. And they don't do notes. Some do, some don't. That was the deal tonight. No notes. Look, the reality is no one's policing you. It's an honor code. If you can honor that, to be fair to everyone, try to. If you've got a cheat sheet and you have a couple notes and it's like, it's not the end of the world. But if you're reading, we're gonna know.
Yeah.
And don't do that. That seems fair. Cool. If you have any other questions, unmute yourself. I feel like everyone's unmuted, aren't they?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna mute everybody right now. It's not personal. Unless you have a specific question or comment, you can put it in the chat or ask me. We have a minute or two. We don't need to rush. Muting all now. Love you. Bye. Great. Cool. Our 3 judges this evening, and I am not one of them, briefly are Sharon Eisner from North Carolina, staying in Ohio. Sharon, quick hello. Unmute, unmute.
Hi, great to be here. I'm excited to hear all the stories.
Sharon, one quick question for you, for everyone to, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but you can handle the spot. We all discussed a little bit about sort of like a criteria for stories, but we all have our own specific things that we tend to resonate with or connect with. Just to be clear, is there one thing that tends to be super important for you when you're listening to stories that you're like, yeah, that's good?
I have an even split between content and delivery. I'm really listening to what you're saying, but I'm also very much listening to how you're saying it. That's all. I mean, I don't want to make anybody nervous.
Right. I'll do that. I'll take that job. Our second judge is from Minnesota, but by no means not from Minnesota. Howard Lieberman, are you here, Howard? Unmute.
I'm here and I'm unmuted.
Do you, Howard, have one thing? I know it's a little absurd to think of one thing. It's many things. So one thing in particular that you tend to lean on is like, I love that shit when I hear a story.
I'll say 2 things.
Sure.
One is I want to hear a good story. I don't want to just hear rambling and, you know, then I did this and then I did that and now the story's over. It should have a beginning, it should have an end, and it should do something in the middle. A dramatic arc, as we would say. And like Sharon, it's content and it's presentation. If you speak in a monotone, I'm probably not going to like that as much as if you get really animated. And I'm offended easily by curse words, so please don't fucking say anything that
Right.
I'm not going to like.
Yeah, that's a, like, chances are if you curse, at least with Howard scores, you have no chance.
What you didn't tell is that, seriously, this is scores from 0 to 10. Just
Yeah.
so everybody's tongue should know that.
No, absolutely. So 0 to 10, including decimals, will average the 3 judges' scores. And we have one winner this evening. And I think I'm just letting the judges know now that if there's a tie, this also might get a mutiny, so don't get too pissed here, but I think I'm just going to be the one who makes the decision. Does that make me a jerk? You can say it. All right, cool. And our final judge in North Carolina, from North Carolina, is Oessa Vinoset. I know Oessa from dance, actually. We both do Cuban salsa, and
We're out
I
here.
know we're both missing that terribly. Oessa, putting you on the spot, didn't prepare you for this.
Nope.
Anything in particular? Or you can just piggyback on what the other said, all good, that you tend to like.
I would just say I like to feel engaged and feel a connection with the storyteller.
Cool. Seems reasonable.
I think so.
So I want to just share with everyone, I'm sharing this because I'm seeing it and I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. To be fair, Anna wrote, and this was to everyone, it's public. The only thing about the bell is sometimes on Zoom, if someone is talking, you won't hear the bell. Could you make a face for them also? Anna, here's what I'll do. I'm going to make a face because what I found is that people are more likely to hear something than see something. But Anna, can you just show me the kind of face that you want me to make? And then I'll make the face. Where are you? Where's Anna? Anna, if you want to unmute yourself, I should be able to see you.
Hey, Sean.
That's a new, hello.
Hey, what she's saying, because we've had this problem in our improv class, is when somebody's talking, the
Yeah.
bell sound doesn't necessarily come through on Zoom.
Really?
Yeah, we might
Oh,
want to
shit.
test it. Like 2 sounds don't happen at the same time, which is weird because background sounds do, but I don't know.
Okay. Julie, real quick, and anyone else who's
Anna.
dealt with this, do you have a thought on that, just so we can be on the same page?
I'm wondering if it would work to hold the bell like this and hit it in front of the camera. So that way there's a visual and yes.
Like it increases the chances that something will be,
Yeah.
okay. Cool. Any other thoughts on that, especially if you've done this stuff on either end and what? Cool. Just want to be fair. Awesome. With no further ado, I'm going to mix these 10 names up. I'm super pumped that you're all here. I think no one is in the waiting room. And storytellers, if you popped on late and you have any questions, unless you're the first to go right now, but please ask before you start your story, just shoot me a message in the text. You should all have the option to either send a message to me, I think it'll say host or something like that, or everybody. So please use that. I encourage you to use it. If you want to share stuff, give feedback to the speakers, the storytellers. If you have something that you need me to know, by all means, use the chat. Everyone should be muted other than our first storyteller, and then I will mute myself. I have been known to forget to do that, but I'm going to do my best not to screw that up. Our first storyteller this evening, our theme, once again, is secrets. I'm going to do this so you can all see it. This is a strategy I learned when I was getting my master's of storytelling event facilitation. This was back in the aughts, so maybe it's changed a little bit. Things have gotten a bit fancier. I want everybody to do well, of course. And the way I see it is we've got 1 winner this evening and 9 super honorable mentions. So you're already a winner in my book. And I hate when people say that to me, but I freaking mean it. Our first storyteller this evening is going, shit, I mixed up all the blanks with the names. I knew I should have gone back to a more advanced read with this stuff. Here we go. Unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like, how does he manage to navigate through the world without getting storyteller number 1 this evening, I believe from Las Vegas, make sure to unmute yourself, is Bob. Give it up for Bob with a little boom boom. Bob, I'm going to stand muted for a moment until I hear your voice. Are you here?
I'm here.
Cool. I'm going to mute myself, but when you start your story, I'm going to start. Break a leg.
Monday, April 13th this year started the longest week of my life. Bonnie was moaning in pain. She ached all over. Her ears hurt. She had dry mouth. She couldn't get out of bed or into bed by herself. She couldn't even stand up from a chair. She had a sore throat. These things came out of nowhere. I'm thinking this might be the end. Bonnie is my wife, 76 years old. I'm 73. We both have health challenges. If either one of us get the virus, the odds don't look good. But if she has it, I'm already definitely exposed. So I'm going to be with her, helping her until the end. There's no reason for me to try to protect myself now. Do not want to go to the emergency room. It's easy to pick up things from emergency rooms. However, if she doesn't get better tonight, we're going to the emergency room. I didn't sleep at all that night. My mind was dwelling on, if I have 1 week to live, what do I need to get done? I thought about a blog I have to post, a Toastmasters group, a podcast I have to deliver, an improv group where I have to be funny and I don't know if I can be funny now, and a story I have to give on Saturday night on a Zoom event out of Boston. Not proud of the fact that I was thinking about me instead of Bonnie. But for me to give her the right care, I need to get my ducks in a row too. Tuesday morning, we call her primary at 8 o'clock, leave a message. And at 9, and at 10, and at 11. All right, we accept he's not going to be there. We call her ear, nose, and throat guy about her earache, which seems to be the least of her problems, but any help would be better. He prescribes antibiotic. I go get it. She starts taking it with lots of water. If you start this, you have to finish it. I send a long text to her family who lives nearby. We start getting care packages on the front porch. There is meat. There is chicken noodle soup, please return the container. There are flowers. There are chocolate chip cookies. We're not alone. Tuesday, Wednesday now. Primary's still not there. But now Bonnie's having a reaction to the antibiotics from yesterday. It brings on diarrhea. There's accidents. This is not fun. We get the ENT guy to give us another antibiotic, which I go get. And I'm wondering, she started the other one and she's not going to finish it. Is that going to give her more problems? Thursday, primary guy's still not there. She remembers that she had a shot the previous Friday, which is 3 days before this happened, and she might have a reaction to it. Look it up on the internet, and it said arthralgia is a side effect for 10% of the people. That is aching of the bones, which is exactly what she has. I don't know if this is what's causing it or it's just a coincidence. We send a note to the doctor who gave her the shot. He's not there, but we get messages after messages, and they say it's probably going to go away by itself. Take some heavy-duty Tylenol and some Benadryl. Tylenol makes her constipated. We know how to fix that, but every more medication she takes makes it more and more of a problem. Over-medication is what's causing this, I believe. The Benadryl makes her so woozy, she cannot even stand up straight on a walker. Her earache is gone though. That's a small blessing, except now she has canker sores all through her mouth. We know what to do about that. In the past, something called magic mouthwash works, but it has to be prescribed by her doctor, and her doctor we can't get a hold of. He cannot possibly be on vacation. There is nowhere to go. And maybe he's sick, I don't know, but we sure wish he was there. I start calling all the other doctors. Can you prescribe this magic mouthwash? 7 hours, 6 doctors, finally one does it. We call up the pharmacy at 5 o'clock on Friday, it's done. She lives. What I learned through all this, 2 secrets. The first thing is for Bonnie to stay awake, I need to stay alive and be present to take care of her. The second secret is, if I am willing to do that, she thinks I'm very special too. That humbles me and makes me very grateful. Thank you.
Good job, Bob. Bob, I have a question for you.
Yes.
First of all, that's a beautiful story. I thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So we don't have to talk a lot about it, but I would encourage, Bob, is it okay if people reach out to you via the chat? Are you going to be on for a little bit?
That would be fine.
Great. I figured I'll ask. And you go, if you want to, it could be directly to Bob or just a general comment about it. I think it's nice to see. Just a logistical question, and I know it's hard to go first, so I thank you for that. Is that bell really irritating?
I didn't hear the bell. I did
Okay.
see your gestures. It was loud and clear. I was actually surprised that my time had gone that fast.
Yeah.
But I had my own clock here and I looked down and it was 5:03 when you did that. So
I'm a pro, man.
I know you did it fairly.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I appreciate you going first again and sharing what you shared because it's, whoop. Yeah, cool. I'm going to look in the chat and then in a moment, I am going to pull our second story. Our judges will be tallying away. They have a way to communicate with one another, right, judges? And what I'm going to ask is, if you have a secret of any kind that can be summarized in a fairly short chat message, and you're comfortable sharing it, by all means, this is the perfect platform and opportunity. I'll say this several times, but throughout the show, please share. Please share. I will do that as well, but not at the moment. Cool. Our second storyteller this evening. I'm so unnecessarily dramatic. Our second storyteller this evening. Here we go. My question for you as I shuffle these up is, are you the storyteller who's like, I hope he calls, I hope my name comes up. Bring it. I want my name. Or are you the storyteller who's like, not me, not me. I know I'm going to do it, but don't call my name, or perhaps someone in between. Here we go. This is it right here. Our storyteller number 2 of this evening in North Carolina is Seema. Seema, make sure to unmute yourselves when you're ready. And we are ready to listen when you're ready to share.
I'm ready. Bob, that was a great story. And I'm going to put a little bit more humor into this evening. I'll try my best. Okay, so when my time starts? Now. So I'm married to a strict vegetarian and a complete teetotaler. My man is awesome and I love him to many moons and back, with an exception of a fact that he doesn't drink at all. He literally abhors anything made with alcohol. So this is a story, not that I'm a drunkard. This is a story from the days when I was pursuing my master's back in Atlanta, and he has already moved to North Carolina as an adjunct professor. And I've been saving some money out of my stipend to treat me with a luxurious vintage wine. So after an exhausting day of my thesis presentation at a school convention, I decided to gift myself this delicious vintage wine. And when I come home, I realized I do not have a wine opener in my house. All right, I'm a persistent person. I borrowed it from my next door neighbor. I gave her a lame explanation of, oh, well, I have some guests over to make up for my excuse to bother her at that hour. She gladly, lends me her wine opener. I excitedly come home. And since I had been out of practice for a longer duration of 5 years into my marriage without a wine opener, I get too overzealous with it. And I end up squeezing all the crumbled cork in my vintage wine. Now there I am, looking helplessly at my vintage wine mixed with all the dirty crumbs from the sealed cork mixed into it. And I have an idea. Like they say, necessity is the mother of all inventions. I get the tea sieve out of my Indian kitchen cabinet. So I filter the vintage wine out of all the crumpled cork, and voila, there I go. I make 2 toasts, one for myself, one for my hubby, who isn't there with me in the person and who hates to drink, needless to say, and one for myself. All right, with some Indian serene music playing in the background to add to my euphoria of this, classic fun time I was having with myself after a long thesis work evening. Hey, I earned it, And what happened thereafter? Well, what happens when you've not touched any alcohol for years and then you're sipping this vintage classic wine? You knock yourself out. In my half sleep, I ended up calling my close family and friends, my brothers, cousins, everybody in India that I knew on my phone. Pretty much everyone except my husband. After all, it was my secret evening with myself, and I wouldn't want my darling hubby to know about it. If I was okay, he would just come at the drop of his hat, to come and check on me, and I didn't want to bother him. And after that, I called my brother in California. I told him about this great wine I was tasting, and like a protective older brother he is, he was like, "You okay? Don't drink more than a glass, etc. Okay?" And then he curiously asked me as to what wine I was drinking. He knows a lot more about wines than I do. And I tell him, well, as you might have guessed it by now, I did not know much about the wines. I blurted out, "Hey, I'm drinking Chardonnay." To which his most sincere response was, "I think the D is silent in Chardonnay. It's Chardonnay." Like I cared. I said, "Okay, if that's what you say, then what's a big deal? I am enjoying my wine." And then what happens? Next morning, I get up with 25 messages on my phone from my entire family back in India and in West Coast, here in US, asking me, what exactly did I drink with a silent D? Well, whatever it was, it made me really joyful. So they all wanted to know. So this was my cute little secret that I told my husband about a few months later after I graduated, to which he still teases me to the present day. Wherever he sees me a little exhausted from the whole day of work and taking care of our 7-year-old, he teases me, "Should I order your drink with a silent D, madame, that no one was silent about?" All right, that's my short little story of the Chardonnay without a silent D.
That was cute. That was lovely.
Thank you very much, Seema. I
Thank
know
you.
Seema a little bit from acting here in the Triangle. She does some acting in theater. Are you in anything right now? Well, that might be the stupidest question I've asked in like 3 to 5
I'm in the
months.
story session, and I'm scheduled for another show
Are you?
very soon. You're over with this.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for
Thank
sharing that story. You are there's a rarity where someone comes in like the 4-minute range. So good for you. Like,
Thank
bring it in, keep it tight, and finish strong.
So I can
Indeed.
drink my wine.
Exactly. Hey, I'm going to check the chat. I just wanted to read. I know that you can all read along as well, obviously, but some people are sharing about their thoughts on the stories. Is anybody willing or open to sharing a very little small secret or something that they can do in a couple of sentences? In fact, if you've got something that's like 30 seconds or less, for sure 30 seconds or less, unmute yourself and share. That sort of goes anytime we're in between storytellers. It's a micro story. And it doesn't need to be like a story. No one's judging you. It's just share some shit. I'm still thinking of something I want to share. I'm a little bit unprepared in terms of secrets. But there's 37 people on here, so I appreciate all that. And if there's 37 people, that means there's at least, I don't know, like 37,000 secrets available with all of you. So, I'm looking for one. I'm not going to beg, but I'm just saying I'm looking for it. Sharon wrote, if someone has a secret and wants to remain anonymous, can they tell you and you won't say who? Sure. I don't think there's a way for someone to do it truly anonymously. I'm going to see it. If there's a way to do that, let me know. I want to know that function. Yeah, if you'd rather just send it to me and I won't say your name, that's totally fine.
Hey, Sean. So I will
Yeah.
say this, 30 seconds worth, that
Yeah.
aside from reading My Secret Garden when I was maybe 9 years old, and it became a favorite book, secrets to me have not been a good thing. I think, secrets when you're in a family, I don't know. I kind of put secrets in the category of gossip. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be preachy here. Anyway, that's my 30 seconds. Thank you. I love your show.
Oh, thank you. And so it's interesting because you're saying you aren't a fan of secrets, but yet you could be doing so many things and you're showing up here to listen to people's secrets. I love it.
And I love the stories. Great stories tonight. I can't wait for the rest.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I'm waiting for that first one to dive into of the non-storytellers. If you want to relax and watch and not be bothered with that, 100% fine. But I'm going to push a little bit because I want to hear the juice. Cool. I don't really want to do it much while the storytellers are going, just because I'd rather us listen to that. Anybody else write on here? Cool. Our storyteller. Let's keep rolling here. And what we'll do is after the fifth storyteller, at a sort of a natural break, we'll have a little activity related and in a moment to sort of chill. We're going to keep rolling here. So we had Bob at number 1, Seema at number 2. They both did a great job. Our third storyteller this evening. When somebody unmutes themselves and says stop, I'm going to stop and pick the top one.
Stop.
Whoever wants to do it.
Stop.
May I know who you are, sir?
Oh, this is Bob Dancer who said stop.
Bob, interesting, very interesting, because I believe you know our next storyteller. Richard, who is, I believe, a friend and a neighbor. Is that right?
We do a podcast together, but I don't really know him.
Right, of course not. And it was a complete coincidence here. All right, folks, give it up. Mute yourself, everyone other than Richard. And let's have him start. Richard, and you're good.
Yeah, let me just start my timer. It's 1983, and I am walking through the Sands Casino on the Las Vegas Strip. I have a pronounced limp, and I am carrying a cane. I'm wearing a neck brace, but there is nothing wrong with me. I'm in disguise. My hair has been cut short and dyed blonde. My beard has been shaved. My glasses are gone. I'm wearing contact lenses. And still, I think every person that looks at me knows who I am and why I'm here. I'm in disguise because I'm a professional blackjack player and I have been thrown out of every casino in Las Vegas. And so it was time for me to change my look if I was going to be able to play at all. My friends and teammates have had various success with disguises. I had one teammate who decided to dress up like what he thought was a cocaine dealer. He was taken into the back room by security guards, not for playing blackjack, but because they actually believed he was there in the casino to make a drug deal. I had another friend who dressed up like Santa Claus and was playing on Christmas Eve. And after an hour, they came and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "I'm sorry, Santa, but we don't want your action here anymore." It's 1983, and sometimes they are not very nice about telling you that you can't play blackjack. What we do is not illegal in any way, shape, or form, but in the early 1980s, sometimes they could be quite nasty about the way they evicted you from the casinos. So I make my way to the blackjack table, I sit down and I start to play, and I start to win. And after a little while, the shift manager comes over and he looks at me and he kind of cocks his head. And I can tell he knows me from somewhere, but he can't really put his finger on it. And I see him walk down the pit and he goes to a dealer who's standing on an empty table. And they both look over at me and I can see them talking. And now the dealer looks at me and I can see he too. He kind of thinks, yeah, I know that guy from somewhere, but I just don't know where. So I think, great, everything is good. I'm fine. I can keep playing. And after about an hour, a woman walks into the pit. Very rare for there to be a female pit boss in 1983. And she walks right up to me and says, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" And I said, "Oh, I had a car accident." She goes, "No, I mean to your hair." She knew exactly who I was. And I said, "Oh, you know, I have a part in a movie and I had to dye it for the part." And she says, "Oh, that's great." So she remembered who I was, but not that I was a threat to the casino in any way. And I think, oh man, I dodged that bullet. But now I see her go over and start talking to the shift manager. And he's looking back at me and she's describing what I used to look like. And now the shift manager comes back and he folds his arms and he's glaring at me. And he doesn't really know if I'm a threat or not, but he thinks anybody who's changing their appearance that much probably is up to something. And I found that often the best defense is good offense. So I look him in the eye and I say, "What's the problem?" And he says, "I just don't know if I can let you play blackjack anymore." And I said, "Well, hey, there's plenty of casinos up and down the strip that love my action." And I picked up my chips and I headed for the door as quickly as I could. You know, back in those days, I would get so nervous worrying about the barrings and the back-offs. But after it's happened to you a few dozen times, now I can walk into a casino and it doesn't matter if I have a perm or my head is shaved or my skin is tinted. It's really just another day at the office. Thank you.
Good job, Richard.
Thank you.
We have like a secondary theme here, I believe, of people telling 4-minute stories. I like this. Like, keep it tight. Let's be efficient.
Yep.
Yeah, good job. I've seen you share that, not that particular story, but a couple of other stories in the last couple of months online somewhere. I don't know where. It's so fascinating for the non-gambler, I suppose.
Yeah, I did one for Julie, I think, where I told a gambling story.
Yeah. So like interesting and mysterious and slightly dangerous and, you know, why did you get into that or how did you get into that? Shortened version of that story.
Well, I had always been fascinated with two things, theater and gambling. And I refused to go to Los Angeles and wash dishes at night to be an actor. So I needed a reliable income, and for me, that was casino gambling.
But but to state perhaps the obvious here, like I'd love to be a gambler, I think, but I suck, right? For sure, I suck.
It's very much like diet books. People want to buy a diet book, read it, and go to sleep and wake up thin. And what they find out is you actually have to work hard at it. Yeah. And gambling is the same way. You have to study and work at it, and it is work. And people usually don't want to put in the effort.
Right. And that, from what I know and what I've seen, and it's not much, a lot of the work is just long periods of just waiting. Like you're not, depending on the game you're playing, right? Like you just like maybe just wait and wait and wait.
Yes, but first you have to put in hours and hours of study to learn.
Right, no, for sure, for sure.
But yes, and not just waiting, there's also what we call scouting. You have to, walk from table to table to casino, scouting, finding the right conditions.
See, I never, that's probably like standard stuff for people. They know that. I didn't know that. Like the few times I've been to Vegas, I don't scout. I just like sort of stumble and look for an attractive woman. And then I'm like, that's my table. That's it. And shockingly, I lose very quickly.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that. That's a cool story. I appreciate it. All right. If I check the chat right now, am I going to find somebody who has shared a little mini little anecdote or vignette of a secret, or is willing to unmute themselves and share something, a little something, not like the biggest secret in the world that you never tell anyone. Okay, I get that. Not perhaps the best time or place. Kat said, I lied on my resume. Nobody checked, huh? I would never ever want to minimize what anybody ever said, but can somebody put in the chat if they haven't lied on their resume? If you haven't never ever lied on your resume, please put your name in the chat. I'm just curious because I imagine oh wow. Here we come, they're rolling in, and now I feel my shame start to roll over me. Like everybody's putting their name in. Like, what, Sean, what? You're such a dick. We didn't. Great. Okay. No, Kat, I feel the shame. Not you. I'll take it all on, man. That's great. Well, the people that are putting in that they have never lied, I appreciate it, and I don't know you that well, and I like you, but I will tell you that I always, if like gun to my head, I'm going to hang out with the people who have lied on their resume. I'll tell you that right now. Also, if you've never smoked a cigarette, I'm just not, I don't know, like in a life or death situation, don't think I'm going to call on you, man, but we're unlikely in that. Okay. Anyone else want to unmute themselves? I know how hard this can be because I'm thinking, I haven't had time to prepare, and I'm thinking, what am I going to say? What secret should I share? Somebody that knows me on here, maybe give me a prompt privately. Hey, Sean, talk about that thing that you such and such. I'll share.
Sean.
Julianne wrote, exaggeration is nothing to be, yes, for sure. Who's got something they want to share here?
So, Sean.
Yeah.
I got a secret for you.
Love it.
This isn't brain surgery.
This.
I know, because I've had brain surgery, and this isn't it.
Damn.
Only twice.
Only twice. You're here.
Well, when you say that to someone, they look at you and they go, oh yeah, of course this isn't brain surgery. And I get to say, but I know.
You know.
This isn't it.
When did that happen for you? When was that?
When I was 33. And a gypsy fortune teller, when I was 21, had predicted it to the year.
Where was that gypsy fortune teller?
That's a different story for a different time.
I want an address, John. I'm looking for an address.
But the gypsy fortune teller was a member of our family and an escapee from the Nazis. Ooh.
Dude, you can't. You're in next time. You're gonna sign up and you got. Come on, man. That's a lot of so juicy.
So
but that's what we're gonna get. Great storytellers leave us wanting more, and I want more.
Yeah, if you pick my name to tell a story, you'll get a piece of the story about the fortune teller. She told me three things.
Dangle that over me here. Dangle it. Dangle
yeah,
it.
She told me three things, and all three came true. In
oh, you son of... I know what you're doing, John, and it's very clever, and it's effective, and I absolutely will have you on 100%. Cool.
All right.
Chat before I pick storyteller number 4. Richard in Vegas, Bob in Vegas, Seema in Cary, North Carolina, Little Vegas over here in North Carolina. Totally not true. Makes no sense. Julie wrote, I've smoked plenty of cigarettes, but never lied on my resume. Interesting. I'm not sure what, Julie, I would do if given that sort of life or death situation, but you seem cool. So sure. You know. Anybody else you could share or a way to do it, or a little something in the chat, a little something like, I tried heroin once. Nobody, I don't know, like whatever your thing is. I would hope we're all going to keep it to ourselves because it is secret. That's probably something I should have shared. I perhaps thought it was a given, but I guess when people are sharing like this, I'm not going to make this public. I can send you the video if you want, but especially with this type of subject, people might want to keep it contained. So if we can honor that as best we can, that would be nice. I'm sure some people don't care. But you can always ask somebody via the chat if they're cool with you sharing more. Cool, let's do this. Storyteller number 4. Again, maximum engagement opportunity. Somebody else, give me like 5 seconds here. And when I hear stop, I will stop. For now, I need to hear it. No like signs. It's got to be like an actual voice.
Stop.
Storyteller number 4. Seema said stop. When Seema said stop, I'm just the messenger. Here we go. Storyteller number 4, live from New England, I believe Boston. Julie Baker. Whoop, whoop.
I did not grow up with a microwave. Only fancy houses had microwaves. When we wanted to heat up a can of corn or leftovers, you threw it in a pot, you turned the burner on high, and when it started boiling, you knew it was hot. So when I moved in with my boyfriend and we combined our effects to cohabitate in our 3-room Boston apartment, he didn't have a microwave, I didn't have a microwave, so we didn't have a microwave. It wasn't necessary. We needed a bed, we needed a couch, we needed a table. That was it. I got a job at Boston University. My plan, I had changed my major a million times and quit school to move in with my boyfriend. My plan was to get a job at BU and take classes for free. I ended up taking things like tap dancing and flute lessons and all kinds of things that were not really towards a degree. But I got this job as a secretary at the Center for Psychiatric Rehabilitation. They had the part where I worked, we mostly typed grants that were submitted to the federal government. Then there was a clinical side where they did counseling of people who had formerly been in a mental hospital, a psychiatric facility, and they were getting educational counseling and vocational counseling. I loved working there. I could wear whatever we wanted. We had popcorn every afternoon, and I could smoke in the parking lot that was just outside of the office where I worked. Because I smoked, I hung out with a lot of clients. That's what we called the former psychiatric patients. They were clients. So they smoked, I smoked. So I had a lot of really interesting conversations with people, and I really came to love them. In this office, there was a refrigerator, and the refrigerator was stocked with snacks for people who were hungry, perhaps. Maybe they didn't get regular meals. I regularly stole snacks from this refrigerator. I had food, I had money to buy food, but it was convenient. I didn't have to pack a lunch. They always had bagels in there. And they had a toaster, but to put a bagel in the toaster, you had to slice it, you had to put it in the toaster, and you had to wait. There was a microwave. One day, I was on a deadline. I had to finish up some typing project that really wasn't that exciting. And the kitchen was near the bathroom. So I decided I'm going to take a microwave. I'm going to take a bagel out of the kitchen. I'm going to put it in the microwave, and I'm going to turn the dial. That to me, it was like high on the stove. I just turned it all the way to the right, probably to about 40 minutes. I went into the bathroom and I forgot all about it. I went back to my desk that looked out on this parking lot. And all of a sudden, I see all these people coming past the window outside of our office, and they're wearing fire hats, and they're wearing coats, and they're carrying axes. And there's this big commotion out in the lobby. And we all go out into the lobby, all the people from the clinical side, all the clients, all the secretaries from my side, and there is a full regalia of firefighters. They go into the kitchen and they come out, and in one of the firefighters' gloves is a charred black remains of what I know is my bagel. There had been some sort of electrical fire of some kind, and smoke had gone up through the walls and set off the fire alarms on the 3rd floor, and smoke had gone down and set off the fire alarm on the 1st floor, but our fire alarm was broken. So we never knew that there was a fire. So everyone assumed that whoever put the bagel in was a client, and that it was, yet another symptom of their inability to adjust to the world. And I felt such shame that I let them believe that. So BU got a horrible fine for not having a fire alarm. We got a brand new microwave in our kitchen, and I never told this secret until now. Thank you.
Yes. Breaking secrets, Julie, here. That can be a thing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like that could be a thing we could do in the future. Like not just secrets, but first time you've ever shared it, like new to the world secrets. Love it. Thank you. Hey, Julie, you want to pop on real quick? And we'll also have time after, but would you share with folks a little bit about your show?
I co-produce a show called Now Listen Here that's out of Boston and Cambridge. In normal times, remember those normal times, we had storytelling workshops in person once a month in Cambridge and open mics afterward. And we had open mics once a month in Dorchester. And now we're doing virtual shows, not a slam, not competitive. People just put their names in. We're also starting to produce some short segments. So if you have a story you want to tell and we may make it into a podcast, send me an email at stories@nowlistenhere.org, and we will talk to you. That's it. Thanks, Sean.
Awesome. Yeah. So perhaps a conversation and a longer one for another time, but I like this approach of a friendly, I don't know if you call it a slam, I'm not a big lingo guy, but a friendly thing, a friendly story sharing event, right?
We call it an open mic. We say no scores, no judging, just great stories.
It's always like a little bit of judging. We're humans. I mean,
Always
a little
judging.
bit of,
Always judging.
Well, I mean, not formally judging, but I was on their show this week, right? It was earlier this week. I shared something there. They do it.
Last Thursday.
Julie, and I believe Bart is your partner in doing that. Do a great job. And yeah. And I've seen some of your stuff, but I want to also point out, and I've shared this last time with Bart's, did you do stories from the stage or was that just Bart?
No, I did it too.
What was yours?
Mine was, the theme was Hell or High Water, and it was a story about going to an off-grid camping site with my Danish boyfriend and 2 teenage daughters.
I didn't hear, I got to check that out. I feel weird now that I didn't.
That's
do my
okay.
background on all my storytellers if I know who they are.
That's okay.
But yeah, and Bart's I did see and I really liked it, so it was recent. I'm sure yours is pretty rad too, no doubt. Cool.
Mine was
Now
season 1. It's very old. Yeah.
Okay. No, they do a really good job, like the production level. It's super, super high. Anyhow, cool. We've got 4 down. We had 4 solid stories, 4 solid storytellers, sharing truth, sharing secrets. I'm going to roll into the chat real quick. And, okay. So I'm going to read these because a couple were sent just to me, and I'm going to be very careful. One person does not want to be outed. I'm gonna be outed. Fair, fine, all good. And I would encourage everyone, including the storytellers, to look at the chat if you're not, because there are some nice messages rolling in about you and your stories. Cool. Richard says, I was arrested for possession of high explosives on Halloween when I was 14 and on acid. Wow. The best part about that, Richard, I don't know if it's a dangling participle, but I love that you put "and on acid" at the very end. It's like brilliant. Richard, I feel like I want to trade lives with you, but only for like a week. And just check out that shit of Vegas and your crazy. You know what I mean? You know, there's people that like, you just like, Somebody who will remain anonymous said, I dated a smoker for 3 years. I carried cigarettes for him in my purse. I carried the same pack of Marlboros for 2 years after we broke up. That's a good secret. So I don't think there's a way to not at least share it with me if you want to remain anonymous. If you know Zoom well and I'm not right, let me know. I won't say anything, but of course, there's no way around me knowing it. I'm glad to share it with people. Yeah, a couple more here. Let's see. Julie, Sasha Lynn's asking you for your email. Would you please put that in the chat for her if you haven't? And I'll repeat that again. So Julie and her storytelling organization is soliciting stories be recorded and put with interviews to create 10-minute online episodes that may turn into a podcast. Stories at nowlistenhere.org. And I always record these. I'm not making it public, but if you want it, I can send it to you. And this chat will be saved there. Actually, I need to check this because if the chat is saved and something was sent to me privately, I'm not sure if it shows that or not. I want to make sure that no one gets outed. Melissa wrote to everyone here, I'm just beginning to date again after an 8-year-long relationship last year. Trying not to talk about the ex too much, but maybe I'm being too quiet about it because this guy told me something to the effect of, I can't imagine what guy, let me see if I get this right. I can't imagine what guy could let you get away. He must be crazy. And I sort of laughed it off and said it was a mutual and respectful thing and changed the subject. My secret, the guy who was crazy to let me go is actually a woman. Still trying to navigate how much of the past should be presented. Now, Melissa shared that with everyone, so I said it aloud. If you wrote something in the chat and you want to say it aloud, it's much more powerful than me doing it. But hey, I'm happy to meet you halfway. Anybody else want to share something about perhaps something they don't share often or maybe even never shared? Ah, great, Bob, thank you. So to share with me anonymously, so I'll just read it out. Change your name. I assume, Bob, that they could share with everyone with their name changed as well. It should be something that you should click on. It says change your name on Zoom to whatever. Story Slam dude. That's a good, thank you, Bob. I figured it was possible. You can do that at any time. I'd love to hear them. I'm gonna get you the link of this dude this guy who wrote a really interesting book, and he collects postcards from people all over the world about their secrets. It's pretty cool. I saw him speak recently at a conference around mental health, and he has quite a following. And who would have guessed you could have made this this big career he has just from that one idea? He just stuck with it. He got it. He's got like hundreds of thousands of postcards. Talks about it. They pay him a lot of money to do that. And it's one of those things where you're like, fuck, I could have done that had I didn't do it. Anyway, okay. It's not really a secret. It's more just me whining, and that doesn't make for a good show. Okay. Storytelling number 5. You guys have crushed it so far. On time, tight, interesting, engaging, amazing. So thank you. Here we go. we're going to stick for this part 1. We have 2 parts tonight. This is the end of part 1, storyteller number 5. And so one more verbal prompt. Give me a minute here, and you can say anything you want. You unmute yourself, and then I will stop, and the person on top I will select.
Stop.
That was so Julie Baker's voice. Here we go. Don't shoot the messenger. Storyteller number 5 from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. A new tree road. Give it up for a new tree road.
I was just thinking, I can't sit here with my nerves for 1 second longer. So bless you, Julie, for yelling out stop. Woo! All right. That was not, don't start my timer. Okay, I'm just.
I'll start it when you're in your story. I promise.
Okay. I have always had crushes. The first crush I remember was in 3rd grade. His name was Russell Cantor, and he had curly brown hair and brown eyes, and he was really funny. He had a great laugh with big lips and big teeth, and I really liked Russell. Then there was Reed Mangles in 5th grade. He was tall and skinny, and his hair was so blonde that it was almost white. He talked in a soft, low voice, and sometimes his white complexion would turn bright red. I heard through the 5th grade rumor grapevine that Reed also had a crush on me. This fueled my 10-year-old fantasies. I would imagine us walking hand in hand through the playground, being the envy of all of my friends, and being the first one to have an actual boyfriend. Something unexpected happened in 6th grade. Somebody had a crush on me. His name was Ian Curran, and that was fine. I had crushes, people had crushes. But then, through the 6th grade rumor vine, I found out Ian was going to ask me out. This created this cocktail of explosive emotions that went all through my body. It was shame and humiliation and terror and anxiety, and I didn't know how to process it. I mean, I was only 11, but I knew I wanted no part in any of this. Through the rumor vine, I found out today was the day, and he was going to do it after school. I tried to figure out a way to escape. In my sly, panic-ridden state, I asked my teacher, I don't even remember what I said, if me and my friends could leave school a couple of minutes early. Our girl group started walking home, and I thought all was safe. But at some point in the twists and turns on the journey home, we turned behind us. The boy group had gained on us. I don't know how it happened, but there they were. Suddenly we stopped and my feet were frozen. Even though I wanted to run, I knew I had to face this fear. They were huddled together, we were huddled together. Suddenly, before I knew it, Ian Curran, with his red hair that was almost orange, was standing in front of my face. My girlfriends giggled and walked away. Somehow he managed to sputter out, "Will you go with me?" I'm sorry, I can't, no. And I just started running. I ran home. Legend has it that Ian was so freaked out by the experience that by the time he walked back to the boy group, he fainted in their arms. I don't think he actually fainted. I think the nerves got the better of him and his knees kind of buckled and he just kind of collapsed. It was awful, but it was over, and I never wanted to experience anything like that again. My terror of actual closeness that didn't take place in my fantasy continued on. I was certainly not the first girl to get a boyfriend. In fact, people seemed to be moving along in life. They were getting boyfriends and girlfriends and kissing and making out. And there was this shadow over me. I knew deep down inside something was wrong with me and I couldn't let anyone ever know. When high school came, I discovered alcohol. Oh, I loved it. The first time I got drunk was amazing. I felt this freedom. It took me back to a time before life had gotten so horrible and chaotic. And when I was drunk, I was able to kiss boys. I didn't kiss a lot. I kissed a few here and there. And I was horrible at it. And it was super uncomfortable. But at least now to the outside world, I could start to appear kind of normal, when deep down I knew I wasn't. It would take me a long time to get over some of these terrors and start to have actual relationships. I still struggle to this day. And if I'm with somebody and we've never kissed before and they want to kiss me and I haven't had a little bit of alcohol, I still kind of freak out. Thank you.
Great job.
Anu, this is for you.
You know
Real
what?
flashlight.
I am not sure. Great job, Anu. I'm not sure I figured it out, but maybe the reason you can't hear the bell is because I'm muted. Maybe could be the reason that you don't hear it. So I have to remember to unmute myself. But everybody's under. Everybody's
Well,
fine.
Sean, actually, Skype does the same thing. When one person is talking, it blocks sound coming from another so that they don't.
Oh, okay. Well, you've intentionally muted yourself. You are guaranteeing
Yes.
that they can't hear you. So I'm not even giving it a chance. Cool. Anu, is a friend of mine. She also goes by Tree. So if I call her Tree, you know what I'm saying. Thank you for sharing that story. My question for you is, any of the people in that story, do you know where they are today?
I actually have something really tragic and I was going to tell you and I haven't told you. Reed and Russell died in a car accident in high school.
Oh, wow. Oh, so they're obviously a long time ago. Wow.
Yes, it's super, super crazy. And Ian and I are friends and he's married to somebody he met in high school.
Yeah.
He survived.
You know
He
what?
actually
So
survived.
He survived. Yeah. Was there any part, this is more of like a story crafting question, because of the gravity of what they went through, their deaths, was there any part that you thought like, I've got to include that in the story somehow, even though the way it's structured, it really doesn't belong? Did that cross
I've
your
got to
mind?
include their passing in the story?
Yeah.
No, not at all. I honestly, there's such vivid parts of my childhood. It's still surreal that they're not here. So I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even tell you and yeah, so
Right.
yeah.
So like basically it's kind of a secret you're sharing with us?
Sure, Sean.
No, I mean, the reason I asked the question wasn't to be nosy, was because
it's a
from
good
like
question.
a story structure, story crafting point of view, it's, I think, hard sometimes when some of the events are really, really big, and it's helpful to remember that you don't have to include everything. You can never include everything. And you got to pick and choose what makes the story the story. So I think you did a really good job with that.
Thank you.
And Anu, you should check out the comments. People are sharing nice things about your story and vivid and good delivery and so on. Now we are at the halfway point of this lovely evening. I realize that at any point you can just get up and go to the bathroom. No big deal. You might have a style in which you like turn your video off so that we don't see nothing. Up to you. However, what I'm going to do for the next, let's say 2 to 3 minutes, let's say 3 minutes, no big deal. We'll just take a little break. It's not fancy. I don't have music. Nothing's happening. Go to the bathroom, heat up your tea, do your thing. And if you're on here and you want to keep the conversation going, unmute yourself. It's a little more casual, and share a story, share a secret, Or if you want, would you put, I've always asked this question on prior events, not secret related, one word that reflects how you've been feeling, let's say in the past week or two. It's a hard one, I know. Is there one word? You can unmute yourselves if you want now, because we're just sort of chilling.
This whole self-isolation started, I feel like Sybil.
Sybil?
Does anybody remember that book?
Yeah.
Maybe you guys are all too young.
Several personalities, Mary Jo?
Yeah. And like within a 10-minute frame, I could be 7 different.
Right.
That's all.
That's a lot. She did a good, now that I think back to it, like, she really did a good job with that role.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really an easy role.
No, and she went from being like the flying nun and in the Beach movies to doing that role. That was her first serious role.
Wow, that was her breakout.
You know, and so it's like,
she's like a baby
really,
in that.
can the flying nun actually pull this off? Because I'd read the book before I saw the movie. Yeah.
I imagine that she either had a real in with the company and the people, or they just knew something about her that we didn't yet know.
Yeah.
Which was that, yeah, she can pull it off. You know, she did. So I see, feel free to unmute yourselves and share about, it could be secret related or not. Hermina, and I'm sharing this because it's to everyone. Hermina wrote in the past week or two, I asked for one word and she wrote confused. Hermina, does that mean you were confused in the past week or two, or right now based on my, what I'm saying is unclear? Which is fair, by the way, because I sometimes have no idea what I'm talking about. Tree wrote emotional, scared, expansive. Anna, who is here, hello Anna, full moon emotional. I know that Anna is part of Trees. Trees also just presented a new teaches an improv class, has been for many years, and has recently completed her first one online, I think, right?
We'll be finishing Wednesday, tomorrow.
Do you want to put a link? So if you have an improv background, improv interest.
No background needed.
No, right. So just any interest or curiosity. Before the night's over, Tree, would you put in the chat a link?
I will. It starts next Monday, the new one.
Cool. So it's Monday. It's twice a week in the evenings, right?
Yeah.
And I think you've got a good testimonial with Anna being on the call. She could back it up for sure, right? Cool.
She gives me the best testimonials. She said yesterday she was feeling blah and gross, and then she went to improv class and she felt like a magical unicorn again.
Wait, blah and gross to magical unicorn all within an hour or two.
I mean, you can't get that.
What I like about that is that she said again, which means that a lot of, sometimes in your life, you are a magical unicorn. Just want to make that clear, right? She's nodding her head. Okay. If you're not super familiar with Zoom, on the towards, I think for most, certainly a laptop, desktop, you'll see either speaker view or gallery view, or it might look like a little icon. So if you've got everybody's picture there and you want to just focus on the speaker, you can change that. If you've got the speaker and you want a bunch of boxes with people's faces, you can change that back. It's not a magical unicorn, but it's pretty damn good. That's all I'm saying.
Sean, can I talk about Tucson storytelling for a minute? Because you guys,
Yeah,
most
please.
of you seem to be east of the Mississippi. So there's stuff going on here in the desert, and there's several groups. There's Odyssey Storytelling, like what Julie was saying. It's a show that's curated, and there's 6 storytellers that practice on a theme, and then they pick one during the intermission to tell an impromptu 3-minute story on the theme. You put your name in a hat. And there's no great, it's just fun. It's just supportive. Even if somebody's like, they're stumbling through their first story, everybody's a good audience. It's the audience you would want. And then there's FIST, which is female storytellers. And they allow people who are female or identify as female to tell stories, although men are allowed in the audience, but only men that identify as female can tell stories. Again, and they give a percentage of their profit to their door to a different local nonprofit every month. And both of those are 501c3s. And we also have Teller of Tales, which I'm on the board. And that's like any kind of story. It can be folk tales, nursery rhymes, historic stories, patriotic stories, and personal stories. So it gives people a bigger platform if they have other things. We had a gentleman from, I can't think of his name, I'm bad with names, the last time we met in person, which I think was March, and he was a tap dancing storyteller, and he like emphasized things with his, maybe some people have heard of him, he's in Phoenix. And I mean, it's just really great to get all these different genres. And the slam is in Phoenix, and all of the stuff, you know, you pay at the door or you join, and you can enjoy stories every month, several times a month in person.
Did you say these are in Tucson or in Phoenix?
They're in Tucson. The slam, the Moth Slam is in Phoenix.
Right. And what was the name of the first one that you mentioned?
Odyssey Storytelling.
Odyssey. Okay.
And they have podcasts going back several years. So
can you put any links in the chat, Mary Jo?
Sure.
Yeah, by all means, put it in the chat so people can.
Can I just put? I don't know that I have the exact link, but I'll put in the name of the group, and then if you Google it, you'll get it.
Now, you all, we're going to put links in the chat here. Now, by all means, check it out. I know you can multitask, but we still have a kick-ass rest of the show to do. Just saying. So stay here with us and multitask for a little while longer, and then we're going to roll back in a moment as people finish up their business. That's a bold name for a storytelling show, Mary Jo. Fist. That's bold.
I know. And they call, welcome Fisters. So, and that it's female, and we all know where
they know exactly what they did. It's not an accident. So, hey.
I know.
I mean, you know.
But they're a really cool group. Anyway. Yeah.
I just found Odyssey Storytelling on Facebook. So, wow, you got a lot of followers. So I'm going to like you so I can know more about you. Cool.
And then
and over 1,000 people gave you the thumbs up there on Facebook, which apparently is a big thing. So, good job.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Only a couple people shared how they've been feeling the last week or two. One word is all you get. My word last time, because I asked the same question, was conflicted. And I'm going to stick with that word. It's like a theme in my life, but it's like more now. If I had to make a face, no word, that's the face of my week. What else we got? Let's give it like 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll get storyteller number 6 ready. Kat wrote lost, Howard wrote overworked, Shivani wrote lonely. The improviser / storyteller put her link in there if you want to learn more about the online class she's beginning again. Julie Baker Boston wrote surreal. Nice. That's fantastic. Cool. All right. I think most people are back. I want to be fair to storyteller number 6 and have it an audience. So, yeah. The other question I'll ask, and you may be like, if you think of something like this, before we leave tonight, I'll ask this question again. There's a particular kind of event. Perhaps that means a theme or a story, a slam, or another way you imagine a storytelling event going that you'd like to see. Or perhaps something like this, but done a little differently. Please shoot me a message. I'd love to learn more about what y'all like most. Cool. Somebody put their hand up and I have no idea what to do with that. But I see you. I'm witnessing your hand and I hear you. I just don't know what to do. All right, cool. Let me do my storyteller number 6. Now, here's what we're gonna do just to make sure people are listening to me here. The first person to make a funny face that lets me laugh, even if it's an internal laugh, even if it's the type of thing where I'm like, that's funny, that counts. That's when I'm gonna stop this for storyteller number 6. If nobody wants to play that game, I'm gonna be doing this for like 2 hours, and that's not fun. Okay. So hang on one sec. You know who you are.
Julie.
Here we go. Any kind of face that makes me laugh. Outward LOL or L, not OL. All right. I see what's going on here. Good job. Cool. Let me get a quick thumbs up from our 3 judges. Are you guys all good? Sharon, I see you. OS, I see you. Howard's good. Yeah. Awesome. And Howard, you haven't gone to a different planet, right? You're still in Saturn? Okay. Just making sure. If you're going to do any intergalactic traveling in the next hour, just let me know so we can figure out the judging thing. Our next storyteller is hailing from New York State. She lives and works and hangs out there in different parts of New York State. She's been involved with us the past few weeks. Her name is Julie Ann. Give it up for Julianne.
Hey, everybody. I actually just thought of this story throughout the evening, so I'm going to tell it. So I am half Irish, my mom's side, mostly grew up with my mom's side. I'm about 4th generation in, so not super close to my ancestors who came over, but I feel like sometimes we have a Irish attitude towards things, and a lot of the Irish stereotypes is like, you know, drinking, and we drink, and I'm very fortunate that no one in my immediate family or my mother's immediate family struggles with alcohol. And something people don't know too much though about the Irish culture is there's a very dark sense of humor, like gallows humor, whatever you might want to call it, and their attitude towards death is a little unique to most standard American culture, to the, you know, puritanical backgrounds of our forefathers here. So about 2 years ago, I found out my brother essentially fell down and died. He's seemingly healthy athlete. He had a heart condition where one of your heart chambers actually grows larger than the others and your heart just stops. Actually, it's often worse in athletes, which was crazy. So my parents are physicians. We're on our way there, and it comes a point where basically they tell me he's on life support and this isn't going to happen. Like, it's pretty clear at this point that this is not going to happen, and that's very complicated and technical, so I won't get into it. But I just had this memory when we were talking about secrets, and it actually was a positive one of when we were in the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, I assumed it was going to be like all of us feeling so dark and sad and not saying anything, which is a depiction I've seen in TVs and movies and everything else. But his wife was horrible. I still call her my sister-in-law. You know, she was in another world, and sometimes we were his immediate family. But there was a lot of talking, and there was actually a lot of laughing and joking. And part of it was denial, and part of it is we had nothing to do. But we had a point where we went into his room and we were looking, and again, we already knew it wasn't going to happen. But it was just my mother and I and my sister, and we started telling silly stories about him. And it started blipping the brain activity on his screen. And again, we knew this was coincidental. And now we kind of believe it was his ghost, his angel ghost, because again, we're crazy and we have a special connection with the afterworld as spiritual American, Irish American people. And so Haley comes in, my sister-in-law, his wife, and we show her, and she's mostly Irish as well, and she laughs and she says, well, let's keep going. So she starts telling stories, and we're telling stories about when he was a kid. And then we were very fortunate that his friends, he was such a good friend, everyone dropped everything and rushed to the hospital from different states. and come in and they start telling tales about that time he was playing beer pong and this hot chick walked by and her boobs were exposed and he just went, and the ball went across the table, and Haley's telling embarrassing stories about when they first dated, and my sister and I are talking about the adorable things, and then the secrets start coming out, and his friends say, you know what he never told you, Haley, and Haley says, you know what he never told you guys, and it's just going on, and we were sad, but it was beautiful, and we were having fun, and I really wouldn't trade that experience, like that experience there, for any other grieving process. And though, of course, it's been terrible and it's been extremely hard, I think our joking gallows humor has really been helpful. And we still talk about downstairs right now. My niece and her family are staying in the bathroom, in the basement. Sorry, there's a bathroom there. It's been a whole thing. And my sister said, we didn't change the batteries on that toy and it's working. And I said, it's CT's ghost. You know he lives down here. This is where him and all his friends hang out. And she just said, oh yeah. All right, guys, thank you for the time.
Another tight story. Thanks, Julianne. You shared a, it was a different story, but I remember, was it here with us where you shared something about your brother as well?
It was something where you were there. Yeah, I shared a story about my brother. I was just thinking about secrets, and I said, oh, that's a much better story than I prepared.
Thank you for sharing that. That's, what does someone say to that other than thanks for sharing, right? Yeah. Cool. We're going to move along only because we're tight on time. We're not tight on time, but I look up and it's 8:30. So let's keep this rolling along. At any point, if the chat is available. I think everyone knows that by now. Responding to storytellers, sharing your own a little secret, a link to your work. I don't want to overwhelm people, but particularly if it's story related or performance related. I know Julianne is related with a blog, yes? Or review. So put that stuff in there and then people can use it. Yeah. Put a link in there and a little description. So obviously if people are curious about it, boom. Cool, here we go. I'm gonna save all the dramatics. I'm just gonna pick the next person. Here we go. We got 4 left. We have had 6 storytellers and we've covered a lot of different stuff, a lot of interesting things, secrets, etc., etc. Here we go. Storyteller number 7 this evening, prepare yourself, is, I believe in Arizona, Mary Jo. Knock it out of the park, Mary Jo.
Thanks. Remember in the 90s, those 900 numbers that were advertised in the back of all of the local rags that were thrown away every week? There was psychic readings and astrological charts, and then there was the naughty conversation. This was in the 90s, and it was all the rage before internet porn. In 1994, I had a year of transition. I decided to go back to school full-time. I'd been going part-time for a couple of years. I quit my real estate career, and I was trying to cobble together a few streams of income before I moved up to Oakland at the end of the year to go to California College of the Arts. And one of my jobs was working for a friend of mine who had a startup that was telephone dating services, and he was expanding from the extra bedroom, and he got an office and he was hiring about 12 people, and he offered me a job I could do when I moved away. And the way that it worked, it was LGBT, there was no Q back then. There was straight, couples, groups, BD, there was just all sorts of varieties that you could do. And it was free to listen to messages and public messages, and to post public messages and to send a private message. But you had to call a 900 number to get your private messages. And so one day I was sitting around, I was helping him doing whatever. And I said, I need to make some more money for this move. You know, I don't want to go through my entire savings. And he said, well, I've got all these extra 900 numbers that I'm not going to be using for months for the expansion. So why don't you just take one of those numbers and do something with it? And I said, oh, okay. So I thought about it and I thought, I didn't think I could muddle through a psychic reading. And I knew I didn't have the chops to do astrology. And so I was left with Naughty Conversation, of which I had a little non-professional experience. So I took an ad out in the local paper offering titillating conversation for $2.99 a minute. And I thought, I want to really do a good job with this. So I created a persona and I was thinking of all these fantasies so that when that phone rang, I was ready to go. But I way overthought it because when the men called, they knew exactly what they wanted. And it boiled down to 3 different things: blowjobs, anal, and blowjobs. So my goal was to keep them on the line for about 10 minutes. And, but some, you know, they were satisfied after 2 or 3 minutes, and I was a little disappointed in that. I had some callers that called fairly regularly and wanted to have a little receiver chat, and that was sort of nice. And there were even some that liked chaste chat. So there was one gentleman who called regularly, and the first thing out of his mouth the first time he called was, "Did you see Lion King?" "Why, yes, I did." And then we went into this conversation about movies and animation and literature and art, and he called regularly. And for $2.99 a minute, I am conversant in many, many topics. Now, the FCC had regulations, and you weren't allowed to say words like fuck, cock, or pussy. And so I had a cache of euphemisms. And I, one day I was I got caught up in the fantasy, and I went in my pussy, and I tried to switch to another word. And the caller, he ordered me, "No, say it, say it, say it, say it." So finally I went, "My pussy." And it's not that I thought the FCC was listening in, but I was concerned because if you broke the rules and there were complaints, then you could lose your 900 number. And since it was my friend's entire business model and not my number, I wanted to be careful. But that's just how it went that one time. Another time, some people deviated quite a bit from the norm of BJ and anal. And one night the phone rang and I got something that exposed to something that was new to me, and that was golden showers. Next night, about the same time the phone rang, I picked it up. Same guy, same conversation. Third night, the phone rang. I didn't answer it. I guess the president found somebody else to call. So what I learned was, at first I thought that it was funny and then sad, and then I thought, no, it's okay if people want to do things like this. But what I ended up knowing is that I couldn't date for about 9 months because I knew too many secrets. Thank you.
I think we all need a moment.
I think I went over. Did I go over the 30 seconds? No? Okay.
You did not. You were real close.
But
you know, you're seasoned. You know how to do this. Oh, Mary Jo, I can't say that I'm surprised necessarily, like, because I don't get shocked very easily. Howard tried recently. It didn't work.
Howard, sorry for the profanity.
well, it works for the story. It's not like you're just cursing. Right. Dramatic. Really appropriate.
I was kidding about the profanity. I don't. That doesn't bother me at all.
I'm not judging this evening, but if I were, I would have no problem with it. It's completely, perfectly good for that story. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
In fact, it would be. Now, this isn't a secret, but it's an admission. There's something about you saying the word golden shower that's not going to leave me anytime soon. For some reason, I won't be able to get that out of my head, Mary Jo. I can't do it. It's stuck. It's happened once in a while. I'm just going to say I'm going to be out there with you. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't expecting that, and it's going to linger for a while. Great job. Great story. It was really, really solid. Thank you so much. And Mary Jo and what was that? Someone want to say something?
I can have my wine.
Yeah. Julie.
I hope that's not the Chardonnay with the D silent.
No, it's I love the bottles, Cabernet Sauvignon.
Enjoy. That was a great story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julianne and Mary Jo, you've got some nice comments coming in if you want to check them out.
Thank you, everybody.
And Julianne and Mary Jo also added a little information about some of the stuff they're passionate about. So check it out. You might have to scroll up a little bit because the comments are coming in, which is great. Cool. There was a couple things that I wanted to share with people that they had posted, and now it's like too far up, and I don't want to take the time to look for it. But I encourage people. It's nice. People are saying cool things, interesting things, nice things. So good. Secrets, 3 more. We've had, like, always with 10 storytellers, you can have sort of a spectrum of stuff, right? Even with a theme, it's going to be all over the place. You know, different angles and different topics and stuff. But I mean, we're pushing it to like new levels, which is pretty cool. We are everywhere. And we have 3 more. And it's only 8:43. I said it would be over by 9, so it's time for me to shut up. Here we go. Storyteller number 8, there's only 3 left. Hey, if you're one of the last 3, here's what I want to say to you. You own this shit. Bring it. Here we go. Storyteller number 8. Right here in North Carolina, fellow actor / improviser extraordinaire, Catherine. Let's do it.
Unmuting, and I'm setting my timer so I don't ramble too long. That was a whole lot of great stories to follow. You guys are amazing. When social media first started to be a thing, at first I thought, this is wonderful. I really like this. What an awesome way to keep in touch with everybody, to keep in touch with friends from New York who I haven't seen in years. People who live right down the street from me. I could check in and have a little conversation while waiting for a green light. This was absolutely wonderful. I had the best time. But at some point, I started to realize that the more I saw what everyone was sharing, the more of a loser I obviously was. I mean, my friend Sue, her daughter won the science fair. And I had spilled wine on my daughter's homework and had to redo it myself so it looked like a child did it. My friend Nancy, her husband for her birthday surprised her with a trip to Paris. How romantic. I had an ex-husband who wouldn't pay child support unless I threatened to call his mom on him. I'd see pictures of people's beautiful homes, their beautiful cars, and I had a beaten up Toyota sitting in front of a cottage with 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, the bathroom that I never got to see because my daughters were always in it. Wow, everybody had an amazing life, but I kind of sucked. Then one day, I was scrolling through everybody's amazing life, and I saw a picture of my friend Mary's son. She had posted it. He was on a horse riding in the sunshine. He was smiling and he had a cowboy hat on. And he looked so happy. And wait a minute. That was Tommy. I knew Tommy. He went to school with my daughter. He was in rehab right now. His drinking and alcohol use had gotten so bad he dropped out of school and he was in some kind of equine therapy. She didn't mention any of that. So it dawned on me. Oh, so I'm comparing my real life to everybody else's highlights reel. You know, they weren't lying. Nobody was lying. They just weren't expanding on the real story. So that Tommy, he was riding a horse in the sunshine. It just, he wasn't exactly where she made it look like he was. Some people had beautiful homes and beautiful cars, and they were up to their eyeballs in debt for them. And other people's kids, maybe they won the science fair, but then again, they maybe also ran away too, and nobody's mentioning that. And it occurred to me that most people's great big secrets aren't their former life as a exotic dancer, or their burned bagels, or their secretively created resumes. Most people's secrets are just that mask they wear all of the time. The one that made them look like they were living the high life, the grand life, when the truth is pretty much all of us are a great big hot mess rolling down a hill, snatching up as many daisies as we can on the way down. And, it occurs to me, wow, what would it be like if in our day-to-day, we all did share? Yeah, my kid won the science fair and I spilled wine on her homework and I had to redo it. Maybe it wouldn't be such a terrible disaster if we started living authentically and stopped trying to convince the world that we were living in some kind of ivory tower that we never will, that we never really needed. And it also occurs to me, why do we want everyone to think we have this wonderful thing going on? Why is that important to us? So my secret is pretty much that I lied on my resume. I have set fire to a couple of things by accident, and I'm not as great as you think I am. And even that's if you don't think I'm great. Love you guys.
Thank you, Kat.
Yeah.
Another story coming in well under 5, keeping it tight. It's great. So wait, this might not be the best time or space, but I would love to talk more about those fires at some point.
I said I was sorry, okay?
I don't give a shit. I mean, it's great that you're sorry, but I don't care about the resume stuff anymore. We're like, talk about raising stakes. Fire. And do you all hear that?
That siren in the background isn't from me.
You're like, you didn't plant that in there for like the perfect moment. All right. Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you for sharing and being so honest. And people are putting stuff in the chat. I'm getting a little annoying because I'm saying it a lot, but I do want to encourage people, especially storytellers, to look and to see. All right. Our second to last storyteller this evening. We've only got 2 left, and there's no way to make the final storyteller a surprise, right? Like basic math. Once I say the 9th one, the challenge for the 10th one is you're the only person who like needs to think about it. You got like 5, 6, 7. The first person, that's a disadvantage sometimes, right? Bob did a good job. The last person is a different kind of challenge. We will know who that is in a moment. We take you all off a different view. And I want to be able to ensure that you can see me. So here we go. I just had a different setting on, apologize. Our 9th storyteller this evening, a lovely evening thus far, is going to be Mary.
Fabulous. Okay. All right. Can you not tell her about this, Mary? Great. Here we go again. I'm driving down the road with my brother, and he's asking me not to tell my 7-year-old niece about me, who I love and adore. And what he's asking me not to tell her is that I'm a psychic medium and a witch. I'm nervous about this because, I love Emily and I want her to love me, but she's in Catholic school now and she's learning about a different religion. So Anthony's reasoning is, it's just going to confuse her. And there's this part of me that feels this shame that I've always felt because I am the person in the family that I know they love me, but there's like a little asterisk next to it because I took a very different road than my brother, who's very conservative and has had a job for 25 years. And here I am doing different jobs, and now I'm not in the corporate world. And by the way, like I said, I'm a witch. So I agree, because the last thing I want is for Emily not to love me. I don't have any kids, and she's like the closest thing to a kid. And so it's pretty easy because she's only 7 years old. So when she finds my tarot cards in my bag, I say, oh, that's a deck of special playing cards, Em. And then when she finds the pentacle tattooed on the back of my neck, I say, oh, that's just a star. And on Halloween, after I take her trick-or-treating, I say, oh, Emily, I'm going up to Salem just to trick-or-treat myself when I'm actually going to work. Emily turns 10 years old, and she decides on April school vacation, she wants Auntie Mary to take her up to Salem. And I think this is going to be fine. I know my way around a little bit. I can walk around with her because I used to work in Salem, and it should be fine. Until people who I worked with start seeing me on the street and they come over and hug me. Mary, we've missed you. Oh my God, it's been so long. How have you been? And after the third person, Emily looks at me and she says, Auntie Mary, how do all these people know you in Salem? And so I decide to kind of lob a softball at her and I say, oh, Emily, you know, those special cards that you found in my bag, those are fortune telling cards. I'm a fortune teller. Because we had seen the windows with the crystal balls and the hands and the palms, and I figured this is safe. Until we go into the Witches Museum and they talk about how they used to arrest fortune tellers, and she freaks out because she thinks I'm now going to get arrested. And I have to tell her, no, Emily, that was back in the day. I'm fine. I'm not going to get arrested. Everything's okay. And so we get in the car and she starts talking all about Salem and the witches, and she has questions. And gee, could I answer these questions? Because, you know, I seem to know a lot about Salem. And by the way, how did I know a lot about Salem? And I'm at that crossroad. Do I tell Emily that I'm a witch? Do I tell Emily everything? Like, is my brother going to be mad at me? Is Emily not going to like me anymore? I don't know. So I decide that I'm going to put myself out there. And I look at her and I say, well, Emily, the reason why is because I'm actually a witch. And I start talking really fast and I realize I'm sweating and I'm like, well, you know, Emily, because like witches are like other people. And, you know, even though you study the Catholic religion, like I study a different religion and we're all the same, and I'm going on and on. And she waits until I finish. And she says to me, that's all right, Auntie Mary, we're all weird in our own way. And things are fine after that. She has questions for me and, you know, we just kind of keep it subtle because she sees it as normal. This past Thanksgiving, we're talking to Emily. She's now 14 and she's in Catholic high school. And we're asking her questions about her teacher, and she brings up her religion class. And she says, well, you know, my religion teacher, who, by the way, her email address is Foley is Holy, brought up the fact that pagans are Satanists. And Emily raised her hand and said, no, that's not true. And the teacher said, no, Emily, I've done my research. Absolutely. Pagans are Satanists. They're bad people. And Emily looks at her and says, no, they're not. My aunt is a witch and she's a pagan and she's not a Satanist. My Irish Catholic mother, who prays the rosary twice a day and who we call the living room, and in the living room, we call it the big chapel because it's decorated with all kinds of religious icons. Her jaw hits the table. My brother starts shaking his head and my heart warms because there's two things I realize at that moment. The first thing is that kids can handle a lot more than we think they can handle. And the second thing is that someone in my family loves me without the little asterisk next to it. Thank you.
Great job. Mary, where are you?
I'm here. I'm in Boston.
Are you Boston?
I'm a Boston girl, yep.
Why did I think you were Houston? It can't just be the TON ending, right? I mean, that's not.
No, Boston.
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 That makes a little more sense. All right, cool. Thanks for sharing that. That was really interesting.
Thank you.
Wow. So many questions.
So many questions.
About that world that I know nothing about. Awesome. Cool. All right, so the only storyteller of the night who knew when they were going to tell their story and had a little time to prepare is Jackie. Before we get to Jackie, private message from Elena Beth. Elena, nod your head if you're cool with this. Yeah, Elena Beth said she had a little anecdote, a secret anecdote she wanted to share before Jackie goes. So you're unmuted. Cool.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My mom, I remember when I was a little girl, held out her hand and there were 2 pennies in it. And she said, "That's all the money that we have left." I knew that everything was always very tight. I didn't get an allowance. I was given 10 cents once a week on Sunday that I would walk over in my hand to Sunday school and give away. And I was such a good girl, always did that. Wished I had an allowance, especially when I was at school and at lunchtime, the kids would say, "Oh, let me treat you." And they'd give candy and I could never treat them. So one day I went into my mother's purse and found that she did have change. And I reached in and took it and had a wonderful lunchtime of finally treating all my friends to candy. But it was a horrible secret that now I tell you. It's 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's definitely a story that could be a 5 or 7 minute story. And I
Yes,
will
it can
invite
be.
you at some point soon. You got me
Yeah,
like curious.
I'm inspired to work on it. Yes.
Awesome. And John shared something, I believe it's John, we haven't met formally, also shared a little thing about, just something about, I got brain surgery and it changed my life in 3 dramatic ways, ... So of course I want to know more about your story, about his story. All right, let's welcome Jackie. She's our 10th and final storyteller this evening. After Jackie's finished, we'll give the judges a little time to figure out the scores and we'll sort of have a casual conversation and we'll wrap it up. All right, Jackie, so the stage is yours. Knock 'em dead. Unmute yourself, Jackie. And then you start over. You're good.
Here I am. I am not a good pianist. I'm not a terrible pianist, but I am not a good pianist. I took lessons for about 12 years and I'm still not a good pianist. And in most families, this would be no big deal, but in my family, it was more of a disappointment because my grandmother was a concert pianist, not a pianist, a pianist. At least that's the way they always said it in my family. I never asked why. It just sounded a lot fancier and heavier and more serious. So I figured that's what that was about. And my grandmother had come to the US from England as a young woman and had my father and her husband and lived in New Orleans and lived a comfortable life until she got scarlet fever and lost her hearing. And when she lost her hearing, she lost her confidence in her playing. And she was no longer any sort of pianist, concert or otherwise. And when I was growing up, my very serious, very solemn, very high standards British grandmother would live with us for about 3 months of the year. And while I was taking piano lessons, I had to be home in time every day to have lessons with grandma, which were excruciating because I was always a disappointment because I was not going to be a pianist. So she would sit with me and say, "Now make sure you come home from school straight away. No dawdling," she would say. Well, you didn't dawdle with my grandmother. So I'd get home and she'd help me with my lessons. I would disappoint her. And this pattern would go on, pretty much every day. So I was always disappointed, though, that I never got to hear her play. And she said, no, I would never play. I said, but Grandma, you have all that music you've put in our piano bench. There's some Chopin in there and there's some Schumann. She said, no, that's for you when you get better. That's going to be a long time, Grandma, but okay. It's nice that you have such faith and hope in the world. Well, one Saturday night, my parents were going out playing bridge with some friends and the older kids were all going to be out and it was just me and Grandma in the house. And she was so serious and solemn all the time that I didn't particularly want to spend an evening with her. So I said, oh, Grandma, I'm going to go over to Suzanne's house I'll be back in, a few hours. And I hung out at Suzanne's for a little while. And for some reason, I came home early. And my grandmother, of course, having lost her hearing, she could hear a little bit with a hearing aid, but she couldn't hear me coming in the house if I came in the back door down in our little split level house. So I kind of crept into the house thinking if I sneak past her and to my room, she won't know I'm here. But I heard something coming from the living room. And I kind of snuck down the hall and put my nose around the corner. And there was my grandmother sitting at the piano, decked out in her most beautiful Sunday church dress, a bunch of necklaces, a big brooch, big earrings. Her hair even looked like she had kind of done it up. I thought, oh my Lord, she's giving a concert. And I kept sneaking and I actually flattened myself down on the carpet. So just my nose was sort of sticking around the corner. And I listened, and she played every one of those Chopin etudes. And I was no expert at 10 years old, but they sounded awfully good to me. And I laid down there for the longest time because I knew she wouldn't want me to know. She wouldn't want to know that I was there. She wouldn't want me to hear her. And so finally, when she'd gone up to bed, I went up to bed too. And the next Saturday, I said, oh, Grandma, I'm going to go over to Suzanne's for a while. I think it'll be maybe 2.5, maybe 3 hours. And then sure enough, about half an hour later, I snuck back into the house. And this time it was Schumann. I remember it was the Kindersness. And I did that probably 6 or 7 Saturdays in a row that spring. I never told my grandmother about that I knew her secret. But I never told my secret that I had had a one-woman show from a concert pianist. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Jackie, I don't, did you know and share that story because you knew I just began taking piano lessons?
No, I had no idea. When did you start taking lessons?
I'm not one of the judges, Jackie. It's not going to make a difference.
Well, good for you.
No, I want to hear more about your story. It's a beautiful story. It's just one of those things, and I think it's not that uncommon where it's like since I was a kid, piano for years, and I finally, I guess this whole thing helped, and I just bought a good keyboard, like weighted 88 keys, and it's an app I use that's not bad.
Yeah.
Like so really robust, and it's like so you pay for it. It's good. So thanks for that, and thanks for that story. Are you in Ohio?
No, I'm in Houston.
Okay. How do you like Houston?
I like it right now because it's been sunny and warm, and all my friends in Ohio and back east are talking about cold and snow. So I'm real happy here today.
Yeah, we've been blessed here. Like I never use that word, which I don't even know how it just came out of my mouth. But I'm here now, and it's North Carolina is rubbing off because our weather here has been like 70 and not humid and soft and sweet and nice. It's like woo, woo. It's all good. Knows that North Carolina, and she's tallying scores. Sharon's in Ohio. I don't know why I got confused. She's tallying scores. Howard is in Minnesota, though he makes it very clear he's not from there. He is tallying scores. You all did a really good job. And here's the truth. If you hadn't done a good job, I probably would have said that because it's really weird to say you all did okay, but you actually really did it. You crushed it. We had a perfect number of people, a perfect sort of reflection of different places and different ideas. Everyone stuck to theme. No one went over. It's like you couldn't script this stuff. So while we wait, the judges are going to give me their final. I'm going to announce it. I'm going to, I have a couple ideas for a very modest prize, but it might be easier if I chat with you individually. If anybody has any final thoughts on one of the stories, a little anecdote they want to share, or really anything else, unmute yourself. You could also put it in the chat, but unmute yourself and share. We have a few minutes here before we get the score.
This was a great time. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Julianne. What about who? So I don't want to rush anybody, but does somebody have a favorite color that is like no one else's favorite color that you've ever met?
Purple.
Richard. People like purple. I'm talking like a really.
Like brown? Like nobody likes brown?
Many people
as
like
their
brown.
favorite?
I have to guess here. I haven't done any empirical research or anything, but like I feel like orange is less popular than purple. You agree? Tree's nodding her head.
Yeah.
Cool. Whoever's
I
eating
used
is
to
great.
think-
Amazing microphone. I'll tell you that. I'm waiting for scores, so let's we can chat and keep it chill.
I used to think I was the only person who loved purple. And I went on a trip to India, and it turned out that all of us who went there on this trip together loved purple. And one day we were supposed to go to a mosque and pull out these long gowns that we could put on over our clothes. And every single person chose purple. So we looked like a cult.
Did you go to the northern part of India? It's very popular there.
We
Like
went
what I'm
all
wearing,
over.
what I'm wearing right now is a shade of blue and purple.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, we
Thank you.
went we spent over a week in northern India and over a week in southern India, and it was a culinary tour. So we went to people's homes and had cooking
Right.
lessons, and it was amazing. I loved
Yeah,
it.
they put those colors in all the northern delicacies. Good to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love what you're wearing. I'm wearing my at-home torn-up T-shirt. So.
Oh, that looks cute.
I'm curious, is anybody finding this whole thing, in some ways for me, I actually like it. Obviously, I don't like the context of it all and that people are sick, but it's helped me in some ways in chilling out and feeling a little less like hustle. So I don't know how to actually articulate that, but there's some positive to it to me. And I'm usually not positive, so I just want to make that very clear. But anybody else have sort of like, yeah, there's some good shit to this. Obviously, you don't want people to be hurt or sick, so let's be clear about that.
I mean, we always want to make the best of things anyway, but you know, I feel a little guilty that I luck out so much because I have a job and I'm getting paid, and you know, for me, it's just, you know, more time with family. So
It's
And
been
Sean,
great for
I would like to.
Go ahead, Seema.
Thank you. Okay. So I was just saying that, you know, I'm very thankful, Sean, that, you know, you created something like this. I mean, I'm seeing many people doing virtual stage reads and whatnot, and I've been invited to some, but this was, you know, something really unique. And I've always been very fascinated with the art of storytelling, and like, yeah, I can relate to that. So it's, you know, it just fascinates me in a way. I mean, I think I was getting those withdrawal symptoms from not doing theater for so long. And I grabbed on to this opportunity because I think every storyteller has a unique story to tell, but in a way it's so ununique as well because it relates to everybody. So there is some kind of commonality, you know, amongst all of us, and we can like bind to each other by this great art of storytelling. So thank you so much for, you know.
Yeah,
Fun.
I
Getting
just
this
wanted to
into our
say,
lives.
Sean, it's been great for storytelling because we have some storytelling events here in Las Vegas, but now we can participate all across the United States. And yeah, it's and learn about, you know, I spend time in Tucson and travel there periodically, so I'm really happy to hear about the events down there. So yeah, it's great for storytellers, I think.
By the way, don't stop with the United States. There's going to be a 24-hour storytelling event this Saturday, 8 o'clock Central Time, and I'm one of the keynote speakers, and it's going to go for 24 hours around the world. And it's amazing. We all like to be in front of a live audience, but where we are now allows us to reach people and participate with people we never could have prior to this time, and we never even thought about it really. And this is allowing for a lot more diversity. You know, I'll speak for Minnesota. In Minnesota, you basically have the same people telling the same stories over and over and over again. And it gets kind of dull because Minnesotans are dull to begin with. But that was sarcastic. But it's true anywhere. As you take a look at who's headlining places, it's always been the same people. And now because of Zoom and because of the pandemic, I know and I'm in touch with so many more storytellers. I think it's wonderful. And this is you know, the National Storytelling Network in June is going to be having a 9-day storytelling festival around the world. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming out right now.
Yeah,
a lot. It's just great.
Where is the 24-hour festival going on?
It's on Zoom, obviously. Well, I don't mean obviously.
No, I mean, where can we get a link to watch it?
Ron, I've given you the link. Can you send it to people?
Howard, you can put it right in the chat right now if you have it.
I know you'd say that.
If you don't have it right now, Howard, if you don't have it right now, you send it to me. I'll put it in the group. And if anybody just wants to get connected with this group that I have, the main reason is just so you get notified for events. I know it's not everyone's thing and the notifications drive them crazy. The very top of the chat, I put a link to the group. That's something that you're into, join it, and then you can stay abreast of stuff like this. But there's other ways to find out about it. And we all, while Howard, you were sharing that, we witnessed, I'm not sure what was happening there. But was it Joe? No, it was bringing it back.
What did you say? I didn't understand a word of that.
Neither did I.
I said that it looked like while you were, Howard, sharing about your thoughts on storytelling, Elena Beth was getting attacked by her cat. It was happening.
Yes.
I wonder
She was attacking she was
watching
watching the story. She was watching the phone.
So before we announce our winner, and we do have a winner, there is no ties. We have hey, Howard and or Sharon or Oessa. You want to share anything about your thoughts on our storytellers? General thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Thank you so much for the vividness. I felt like I was there for so many of your stories. Thank you for the reality of it. I just really appreciate the authenticity tonight. I felt moved and I felt like you were all just so genuine. I'm very impressed with the level of the story. So thank you for that.
Final words from either Oessa or Howard. No pressure. Sharon summed it very nicely.
I'll dive in. Sorry, I was putting up a link to the virtual storytelling conference.
Sure.
Usually when you're in a storytelling event like this, whether you're a judge or a performer, the stories are, they go from pretty darn good to pretty mediocre to, oh my God, I had to listen to that. And I thought all the stories were good. They were very heartfelt. The range in terms of my own scores was not all that broad. I thought everybody did a good job and really told personal stories that mattered. And I really enjoyed it. And I thank you for the effort you all put in.
Oessa, I know you're getting attacked by your doppelganger in the mirror there. You got to be
No, I just want to say that I really appreciated everyone's stories. Thought they're all very solid, and it was really cool just seeing how everybody like interpreted the theme of secrets in their own way. Some were like really sweet, others had a nice little edge to it, which I really appreciated. But yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. I agree with what you all said, and in general, just thank you for taking time to show up as audience, as storyteller. So our winner this evening, and I am going to announce their aggregate score here, just to give you an idea that our judges are not playing, like they're playing a hardball here because the winner's score was 8.9. I don't get judges who are soft. I get like, boom. All right, the winner was 8.9, and the winner of this evening's slam themed secrets is Julie Baker. Woo, Julie, what's up?
Thank you. I was doing a drum roll expecting it was someone else. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's stiff competition tonight too. Thank you.
And I'm not seeing all the scores, but
Okay.
no joke, I will almost guarantee that most, if not all of you, were close to you. It was tight.
They were great stories tonight. Great stories.
Well, great job. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sort of officially say we're done. Some people like to linger, which is not the greatest word, but it's the one I thought of. I'm one of those people. Especially after you share a story, it's weird to just like leave, because we can't have a drink at the bar. So let's chill. I want to hear some thoughts if you're available and interested in sharing some perhaps ideas about other kinds of events that I'm happy to try to produce, facilitate, host. Share those, especially if you've been around for a while. I'm sure you have ideas. That's a big thing. And yeah, if anybody else wants to share a secret or secret-related thing that they've been inspired to, by all means. But anybody else, if you don't want to say goodbye and you just want to bounce, I get that. Goodbye. Thank you very much. Wonderful stuff.